Hi, it's Edward, back with another video. Please take a moment to click the thumbs up button below and consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your support. Today, I watched an interesting video on YouTube put out by the content creator Orlando Minor. This video was titled, "Recession is Forcing Millions into Eviction." Here are my thoughts. In this video, Orlando Minor referenced a tenant who was very upset about being evicted and only had enough time to take 3 packs of diapers from the apartment. Orlando Minor said, "This is what happens for non-payment." Well, I agree. This can happen when you don't pay your rent. Understand, I care about humanity and what's going on with everyday people. I know many are being crushed by true inflation in our country. Wages haven't kept pace with inflation in many cases. Understand, it's not that some people are lazy and not working. Some people are actually working multiple jobs and they still can't keep up. Some rely on credit cards just to cover all of their bills each month. Unfortunately, some people reach a tipping point where they can't keep it all together anymore, and they are faced with difficult decisions. Do they put food on the table or do they pay their rent? It is unfortunate when some people stop paying their rent and get evicted. Getting back to the video, Orlando Minor said, people should have money set aside in an emergency savings account. As the economy gets worse, people are getting evicted and losing their jobs. He said people need to understand if you don't make your payments, you will get evicted. He went on to talk about how landlords need the rent money to pay their mortgages. I'm going to share my thoughts. Many Americans do not have adequate emergency savings. It is unfortunate. Some people make poor choices. Some folks would rather spend money going out to dinner somewhere nice, going to a movie, going to some type of sports game, buying expensive tickets, going on a vacation, and they will simply worry about problems as they arise in life. I don't think that's a good strategy. In my opinion, people need to make some personal sacrifices so they can have emergency savings. You never know what is going to happen in life. Just when things are going well, life can present you with twists and turns that you are unprepared for. I want to share my thoughts about landlords who need rent money to pay their mortgages. A lot of people don't realize this. I'm going to tell you a story about a landlord who was living a very lavish lifestyle. He built a large mansion. It was all brick. It had a huge garage. He even had a smaller garage on the back of the home to accommodate his golf cart and his multiple riding mowers. He had his own private pond. He had a private beach. The home was red brick with these massive white columns out front. It really was a showstopper. Unfortunately, he overextended himself. He purchased too many rental properties too quickly, and he spent far too much money building this large mansion. Everything could have gone okay if all of the tenants continued to pay their rent on time. Unfortunately, they didn't as the economy changed, and he was unable to pay all of his bills. He ended up losing everything. All of those rental properties were foreclosed on. The large mansion was foreclosed on. To make matters worse, no one was paying the electric bill on the vacant mansion. There was a bad storm. Water made its way into the large finished basement. The sump pump wasn't operational because there was no electricity on. The basement filled up with water, and that water sat there for a long time. There was microbial growth throughout the finished basement and throughout other areas of the home. Eventually, the bank was able to sell that property for a song because you either had to have cash or a line of credit to be able to purchase that property in disrepair. Someone gutted everything, including cabinets, trim, flooring, drywall. They were able to renovate the property and eventually flip it. And I don't know if they made much money off it, because I can tell you it needed a ton of work. Now, there was another sad part of this story. The tenants were negatively impacted. There were stories in the newspaper about tenants who had raccoons in their rentals. There were folks that had leaky roofs. I remember reading about all of these different tenants who were impacted because of this landlord losing everything. It was truly sad for all of those people who were paying their rent because they were not getting the service that they should have. Getting back to the video that I watched today, Orlando Minor said, tenants who aren't paying don't care if their landlord gets foreclosed on. And I'm sure that's the case for some people. But I'm going to tell you another crazy story. Another landlord that I knew had a lot of rental properties, and just like the first story, he overextended himself. He ended up losing all of those properties. Before he was foreclosed on, he didn't have the money to make repairs to some of those properties. I talked with some of the tenants after he lost everything, and this group of tenants told me they called him one day and reported the fact that their refrigerator wasn't working anymore. And this was in the winter. This is what he told them. He said, here's what you need to do. I need you to walk over to the refrigerator and freezer. I need you to go ahead and remove the contents of the refrigerator and the freezer. I need you to carry that through your kitchen and dining room and living room and make your way to the sliding balcony door. I need you to go ahead and put all of your food out on the balcony. And the tenants couldn't believe this. He had no intention of replacing the refrigerator and freezer. He instructed them to put all of their food out on the balcony. He figured it's winter, it'll be fine out there. He did not have the money to replace that refrigerator and freezer in the kitchen. Really sad. Those tenants just couldn't believe it. I'm sure they regretted signing a lease with that individual's company. I'm going to tell you a story about another landlord. This guy also lived in a large mansion. He had hundreds of rental units, and he owned hotels and motels. Everything would have been fine if all of his units were rented out, but he had a lot of vacancies and he had tenants who weren't paying their rent on time. I knew his property manager years ago, and she told me that she was instructed to cannibalize vacant apartment units, take working toilets out of the vacant units, and then put those in the occupied units because he didn't have the money to be able to purchase new toilets. Can you imagine? She had to do this with a variety of different things from these vacant units just to be able to make repairs on the occupied units. He was sacrificing his ability to rent out all of those vacant units in the future, simply making his financial situation worse. It was a matter of time before things would start to implode. This guy also instructed his property manager to stop paying the sewage bills to the city. He said it would take the city some time before they would come after him. And he said once they did come after him, he would be able to settle and pay them far less than what he owed. When tenants don't pay their rent, it creates another problem. Landlords often have short duration loans that need to be refinanced every few years. When the books are a mess because the landlord has a lot of vacancies and the landlord has a lot of tenants who are not paying their rent, well, the financial institution may not want to refinance all of those properties. And that is the reality that some landlords unfortunately face. It is unfortunate that there are Americans right now who are unable to pay their rent, but I get it. Life continues to get more expensive in our country. A lot of individuals can no longer afford the high rent that is being charged by some landlords. Many Americans have high car payments. They're paying a lot of money for car insurance. They're paying more for food at the grocery store. Some people simply can't afford everything in life anymore. Some just have to throw in the towel, stop paying rent, and deal with the consequences. And that is unfortunate because life in America can get very difficult when your credit is trashed. A lot of people depend on credit to sustain themselves. Life gets real when you no longer have access to credit, or when you are able to access credit, it's more expensive. I'm curious what you think about all this. Do you know people who have stopped paying their rent? If you're a landlord, do you have tenants who have stopped paying their rent? If so, tell me about it in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing to the channel. I want to extend a special thanks to everyone who has subscribed to this channel. I want to also thank all of my channel members. If you would like to become a channel member, there is a link in the description beneath this video. You can read more about the different membership levels. Please also check out some of the great books that I suggest you consider reading in the description below. I've included Amazon affiliate links to these books. As an Amazon associate, I earn from qualifying purchases. Stay healthy and wealthy. I'll see everyone in the next video.